Uh-oh. We'll see if we can get John going here
There we go.
on the. Yep, there he is.
How's it going, everybody? Glad you're with us here as we kick off another week of Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. A couple of days off. Holiday yesterday. We are back at it this morning.
As they say, we've got a lot to unpack on the show today. Basically, a lot of it's because it's been a while since we've been on. Weren't on yesterday after a big weekend. Of course, yesterday, I imagine John spent a lot of the day checking out things that are going on in Washington, D.C. I bet a lot of you did. And then capped it off last night with a little college football, where Ohio State is the national champion. Second straight national championship out of the Big Ten. They end up winning that game yesterday against Notre Dame. I watched all of it and made it a little bit close at the end. 16 unanswered points. And the final score ended up being Ohio State 31 and Notre Dame 23.
That was a big late field goal for some people.
I was going to ask you about. Was there any significance to that? I wonder.
Yeah, that was a big late field goal that half the stadium wanted and the other half did not.
Yeah, I said 31. It was 34-23 to make the final score 11 in that game. So that was a big one. Ohio State wins it. They were the first team, the first school to win a championship in the 4-team playoff, which began back in 2015.
Yeah.
10 years later, they're the first team to win the 12-team playoff. And, John, I can live with that yesterday. Watch the whole thing. They were the better team. They were the better team from start to finish. There was there was nothing untoward about it. There was no bad referee call or no incredibly stupid coaching decision for Marcus Freeman or anything like that. Ohio State was just better, and you tip your cap to them. And you maybe college football programs, you learn a little bit from them and get your team ready to try and do the same thing. So,
well, you're going to hear, the best college football team that money could buy. And, nowadays, I mean, that's what we're out there doing. And if you've got the money to do it, you've got the bankroll, you can go snatch players from all across the country. Doesn't seem right. Kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but that's where we are. That's what we've got. And Ohio State's got some great athletes. And that's what really caught my eye, Barry. It's the eye test again. When I saw these guys play, I'm thinking, man, they just look better than everybody else. Now, I can't explain what happened when they got beat by Michigan. I don't know if that's a psychological thing. It happens to me in golf a lot, particularly more lately, between the ears. Maybe that's what happens when they play Michigan. But their playoff games, they just look dominant. Tennessee, Oregon, all those games he had to play before last night.
Yes.
And, Notre Dame gets the early 7-point lead, but was anybody uncomfortable with that? I mean, even when Notre Dame got it within 7, were you really, nervous? Maybe a little bit. I guess some of the bettors were, but that team just looked better. And I tell you, Notre Dame doesn't quit. They're very disciplined. One cheap shot penalty that cost them late in the game last night, a roughing the passer.
Yeah.
That was very uncharacteristic of Notre Dame. But, I give it up to Marcus Freeman. He might not have the most talented team, but those guys play hard. They hustle, and they're disciplined.
But then again, Ohio State was better than they are. It's about the eye test. You had the Kansas State quarterback handing it away to the Ohio State running back, and you had there was just a lot of that kind of thing. And I've seen a lot on social media and on some of the message boards and stuff. Well, best team money can buy You better get right with that concept, people. I mean, if it makes you feel better, if your team didn't win because they just bought their players, how much do they really care about good old the Ohio State University? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It doesn't matter. You better get your mind right, John. Here is the bottom line there. Ohio State spends more money on athletics than any other school in the country. They're spending close to $300 million a year on athletics.
Woo!
$300 million. Nobody, I promise you, any public university, I mean, you don't know about private schools because they don't have to release that stuff, but they're not doing it. Ohio State spends more money than any other school in any other public university in the nation on athletics. And they spent about $20 million in NIL to build their championship winning roster. They're going to get a trophy. They're hosting it up. They're going to have their names engraved on it. There ain't going to be an asterisk anywhere on there, John. Well, they paid for their team. So what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. If you're going to do it, if you want to learn a lesson about how your school can do that, I don't know if you're going to have Herb Street in tears after the game describing it, but you are going to have to spend the money. You're going to have to spend upwards of $20 million, whatever. What do you call it, John, in poker? The ante. You're going to that's the ante right there. You want to play? This is what it is. This is $20 million. I mean, $20 million to get in the game. And God bless Notre Dame. They didn't spend that much. Nobody spent that much. Notre Dame acquitted themselves well, but when Ohio State had to make big plays, they went to their great athletes, and Notre Dame just couldn't compete.
And Barry, when I think about that, the first thing that comes to mind is, can Auburn and Alabama compete with that year in and year out? Can those two programs compete with $20 million NIL, accounts that these schools have? Maybe, every now and then, maybe if all the pieces fall together and, hey man, this is our year. We really feel good about some of these guys. And there's 4 or 5 we really need to kind of solidify all this. Do they go all in similar to what Ohio State? Because I just do not see it unless things change. And I know there's some winds out there that tell us that maybe by the summer we'll have a better game plan and a better structure of how we operate with NIL in college. But I can tell you that people I talk to, people I hear that do get into the ear of these big wigs and these big donors, they're frustrated. They've had enough. And they just, quit coming back to the well. I cannot just keep doing this year in and year out. Love my school, but there's just not enough of us around to be able to do this. You can't go back to the same ones. You got to diversify your group. And a lot of these schools, there again, it's not just Auburn and Alabama. It's Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Arkansas and some of these others. Year in and year out, just don't think it can be done.
There's an interesting, I thought really interesting thread on the TigerInsider.com message boards. And there's maybe 1 or 2 on the Auburn message boards that say maybe the same thing. But the question comes on the message boards, why can't Bama have the best team money can buy? And some of the responses are, you're going to pony up a couple $1,000s extra toward it? Yeah. Nashville says it's money. Stargazer says, so how do we have the number 2 class this cycle? They all signed for free? It ain't all your high school signees. It ain't all your recruiting. John, it's depth as much. And somebody else puts that point in there as well. You're going to Auburn and Alabama are going to have really good players. They've gotten a bunch of guys that I think have upgraded the roster for the last couple of years. And the reason why they've done it is they've spent money on them. They've paid them. They've got NIL. But they ain't got $20 million worth of NIL. They can't take Quinshon Judkins, who, by the way, signed big from Ole Miss. From Ole Miss, and ran for 100 yards yesterday, 2 touchdowns and a touchdown catch. But they also have Travion Henderson and Seth McLaughlin, who signed for big money from Alabama to play center for Ohio State.
Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs. Those McLaughlin gets hurt. What do? They got another guy they're spending a ton of NIL money on. Come in, take his place. Don't miss a beat. You can buy 4 or 3 or 4 real difference makers. But you also need to make sure you have some other guys as well. And that's the biggest part of it.
And somebody asked me last night, I don't know how the conversation came up, but talking about Alabama not making the playoff, or it just seemed weird that they weren't in it. And I just made the comment. I said, yeah, even if they made it, they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be playing in this game tonight. Because it's just, there's so many good teams out there, and you're going to, where you could dominate with depth as Alabama did under Saban for so many years, you're just not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to have 4- and 5-star guys playing second and third team. They all want to play, and I get it. I'd want to play too. But the money aspect, I think, is certainly, kind of chapping some of the college fan base out there. Things are there again. They're spreading out, evening out a little bit, which isn't a bad thing. We've been through so many years of dominant teams, a handful that were always there. We're going to see more and different because of NIL and transfers and whatnot. But, the days of one team dominating, unless it's the Ohio States and they're able to spend $20 million plus a year, and maybe some other teams out there, that's the only way I see you being able to dominate, is just buy your roster, hope they stay healthy, and win it that way. Because I don't think the depth concept, Barry, like Alabama had it. I just think those days are over.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. For what you're talking about, for exactly what you're saying, guys want to play. And in the past, if you played on some of those great teams, even as recent as, say, 2015 at Alabama, and you were dissatisfied with your playing time, you're stuck for at least a year. Do you want to sit out in the middle of your career for a year and a redshirt year before you get to play again, and maybe your new place isn't going to work out either? Nowadays, you can go. And what it means is better football around the country for everybody. But for those really, really good teams, you better be able to take advantage of your big money guys. I do wonder about this, and you mentioned this summer. There's going to be hopefully some action, some movement on trying just to put some guardrails up, trying to put some limits and parameters on all of this. Because if you don't, like you said, John, there are people who are getting stretched, people who have to make a living every day, who have to make, their taxes and have to make their payrolls and have to, present figures to their shareholders and stuff. And they're being asked to spend more and more and more and more and more on a football team, and more and more on some kid that's a great player, but maybe gone next year. And if he's gone next year, it's because he went somewhere else with more money. And that means the price just went up for the guys that you want to replace him and everything. And you're thinking, golly, I love my school. I love it, but I can't keep doing this. Like Nick Saban once said, there's really no return for those guys.
There isn't. And look, they want that guy that's spending $20 a month. They want you. Don't think they don't. And they appreciate it. But the guys they really got to keep, make sure they stay with the program are these guys that are donating millions to the school. And those are few and far between. And in some schools, there's not as many as they have at others. But those are the ones that they've got to really keep happy. And these are the ones that are getting frustrated. And you're right. John Cohen, Greg Byrne, he's told these guys, stay with us. Give us 18 months, which was about a year ago. So about 6 more months to go. Give us 18 months. We feel like there will be a plan in place to get this kind of under wraps, more streamlined, more balanced, fair, So we'll see. I mean, I'm reading it. I'm hearing it that, they feel like that's coming late spring, early summer. We will see. But, a football coach today, it's not just all about coaching the team and going out and recruiting high school players and then re-recruiting the team that you currently have. It's going out and talking to these big NIL donors. I was at the Montgomery Airport on Thursday, leaving on a flight about 4 p.m. I happened to look out the window, and what is over there parked at the private aviation tarmac? The University of Alabama plane, big red A on the tail. Was he here recruiting? Possibly. But when I did a little digging, they were here talking to bigwigs. That's what they were here for. They weren't, their main goal wasn't to talk to high school athletes and recruits. They were here talking to the big dogs. We've got to have the money. Select group of people getting in front of DeBoer and some of the coaches and Greg Byrne, and they're laying out their sales pitch. Guys, we got to have you. That's got to get old.
As a matter of fact, you and I have talked on the air in our past and with experts and with a couple of coaches. And you say, it's not all about for them. It's not all about coaching. John, very little of it for the head coach is about coaching anymore.
Yeah.
Very little of it. I remember a year and a half ago, we talked with a guy named Will Hall. This was at Sunbelt Media Days, and at the time, he was the head coach at Southern Miss. And he told us about 35 to 40% of his time is actually spent with football. Well, he got fired midway through last year because, his team was, they had some NIL guys, a quarterback transfer from Florida State. They did that, but they just weren't good enough. And it's not about football anymore. This is the world that we are in. And if you don't like it, don't ante up. Don't get in the don't be at the table. But it ain't gonna. When John talks about, we need to set guidelines and stuff like that, we'll always have NIL from here on out. Hopefully, and you heard on Friday from Jason Jones of the NIL Collective at Troy, and he said the real culprit's not NIL. The real culprit is the transfer portal. If NIL gets limits like salary caps like the NFL, it's going to get better. It's still going to be really, really expensive. You're still going to have to buy your team, but you're not going to have to go through the churn of, okay, Ohio State, we spent $20 million on you. Now you've won a national championship. Now our prices go up because all those guys are going to want to raise, right? Otherwise, they're going somewhere else. You're going to have some of those guardrails, and guess what? They're going to go somewhere else, and they're not going to have to sit out for a year.
And I missed that interview with Jason, but I'd be interested if y'all brought it up. I guess with the higher rated player, their reasoning for transferring is for money because they're playing where they are.
Yeah. But
a lower rated player is looking for playing time. Maybe the money's not as great, but the playing time's going to be better. So yeah, if we can tighten it up a little bit, and the money's not the issue, to me, that at least cuts down on the number of big time players that are moving just for money.
I think you're right. I think you're right. People transfer for different reasons. Sometimes they're going to be invited to transfer out because you've got this other big money guy in that they think is better than you, and you're going to be encouraged to find someplace else. But there's always going to be money involved. There's always going to be a good bit.
When you watch that game last night, was it a little discouraging for Auburn and Alabama fans? Do you kind of get a little concerned? Can we keep up? Are we going to be able to run our program like that? If I was a big donor and I had the athletic director in front of me, that'd be one of the first things I would ask him. Hey, Greg, how do we get like that?
The other question is, as we go to break, can Ohio State keep up with that? Can they continue doing that over and over again? They spend a lot of money on athletics, more than anybody else, and they've been doing it for a long time. Is that even sustainable for them? These are questions we've got. Congratulations, Ohio State is the college football national champion. And the college football season's over with.
May a quick answer to that. If you win the Natty, it's got to be easier to go back to those big dogs and say, hey, can you ante up again? We're going to go for it next year.
And then again, and then again, and then again, and again. Like you said, there's some buyer fatigue out there. Speaking of fatigue, when we come back, a keystone of John's conversation over the last couple of weeks, has been fatigue. The national champion is named yesterday. Does it have the same oomph? Maybe we're jaded because it usually, a lot of times it's come from the state of Alabama. Did it lose a lot of its oomph coming as it did on the heels of the NFL divisional playoffs and, way back into mid-January now? Is nationally speaking, are we getting as much bang for our buck with the playoff setup? In terms of fatigue, we'll talk about that. Lots more. Basketball as well, NFL. Hey, we are underway.
Yeah, got a lot of great guests today. Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com at the bottom of this hour. Travis Ryer on YouTube talking Tide at the top of the next hour. I believe we're going to check in with Marianne at Marguerite's before we wrap up later today as well. But we want to hear from you. The chat line's open. Yes, sir. River Region Straw chat line. Get on that. Want to hear some comments. Good morning to all. You can email us. longshoreandmcknight@gmail.com. We're going to announce our winner of our bowl prediction contest later today as well. I've somehow misplaced the link, and I've got to figure out where it is so I can look it up myself, and a whole lot more. So get in on it so we can talk some football, basketball, and all things sports. And, well, anything else you want to talk about, we can do that too.
There was some other stuff going on
a little
bit.
So
he's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, folks, let's start 2025 off on the right foot at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where you can get a 2024 Ford Bronco up to $10,000 off MSRP as low as $34,990. What about the popular Ford Escape? Well, you can get one as low as $24,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. The Ford Explorer is what started the SUV craze back in the early 80s, and it's still going strong today. You can save up to $8,000 off MSRP as low as $33,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. But I know what you're asking me. John, what about the popular F-150, America's best-selling pickup for over 50 years in a row? Well, you can get a 2024 F-150 Crew Cab at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP, plus no payments for 90 days. And they've got plenty to choose from. I've never seen as many cars and trucks on the ground at Stivers as they've got there today. Go by and see for yourself. 4000 Eastern Boulevard, Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where Price sells cars and trucks.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
We'll get John audio up again. And
sorry about that. I can't figure out why the mute button I got a lot of technical issues over here. I got a camera issue. I got some things jumping up around. I don't know what's happening, but we'll work our way through it. I haven't checked the NOLA weather radar today. I know there's a lot of excitement and people are running up and down the hall, skipping and jumping about some frozen precipitation, actually more south of here. I hope Danny from Margaritaville's bracing for the 3 or 4 inches they're going to get down there, allegedly, in South Alabama. But I heard something about some line or something. You got to be below it or above it to get some powdery stuff today.
It's like coming across or something like that rather than coming down.
I did see where it looks like Troy's going to get hit pretty good.
Yeah. Troy University, the campus is closed for a couple of days. I've got obviously work to do, so I'm going to be in my office all day long working, but you need to batten down the hatches out there. We have got some weather coming in, and my suggestion to you, don't get out if you can help it. I mean, don't be that guy. Hey, I want to go out and just sit around. You can, get a couple guys together and sit there and binge watch Longshore and McKnight over and over and over again. Oh, here comes that part where John tells us who's leading in the bowl prediction contest. Oh, wait a minute. Here's Brian Matthews. This is going to be great. Just watch it, just watch it over and over again, like It's a Wonderful Life or Animal House or something like that.
You mentioned college football fatigue. Was with some people over the last 3 or 4 days. This conversation came up. They kind of got what I was mentioning. Hey, Range Pro says Destin Connection's open today. You better believe they are. Range, like the postman. I mean, they're delivering. Rain, sleet, snow, hail, doesn't matter. Destin Connection is open today. 3750 Norman Bridge Road.
Well,
call ahead for orders.
You don't need to be out there if you can help it. Now, Destin Connection is doing God's work. I mean, there's some dispensations for being out there for that. Oh, you can call ahead
288-4272. They'll have it ready for pickup. Destin Connection open today. Better believe it. How about college football fatigue?
Yes.
And they got it. They kind of felt a little bit like I've talked about. I mean, here it is, the 21st of January, getting close to February. We're still playing college football. Look, I love the expansion. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like the schedule. I think it's too spread out. I think they kind of drag it out too long. And I didn't think about this, Barry, but I thought this was a great point. We talked about, should we be playing college football while the SEC regular season basketball schedule is being played out? Talked about that a week or so ago.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the NFL, and those games over the weekend were really good, particularly that Buffalo and the Baltimore game. It was awesome.
Yes.
Detroit losing. I mean, I'm surprised they're not burning couches in Detroit. I mean, they had one of the best regular seasons, and then they get beat in the playoffs. I mean, there were some good ones. So how does that affect college football when the NFL's getting so good?
It cuts into the impact. I guarantee you there's people around the country that ain't in Alabama or Ohio or Indiana or Texas or wherever that aren't paying attention to it at all. Just because of the schedule. Golly, you get amped up watching the Ravens. They tied the game up late for about a millionth of a second, and then the ball falls out of Mark Andrews' hands at the goal line. The 2-point conversion, no good. And that's the game. Bills win. And you get geeked up about that. And the Rams, a late one in the snow in Philly and couldn't close it out. And then how about the Commanders? Lions couldn't, 15-2, Detroit Lions could not stop Jaden Daniels in Washington. And then the Chiefs, they advanced to the AFC title game for the 7th straight year. And you get geeked up about that. And somebody says, oh, yeah, hey, the national championship game, it's on Monday. Wait a minute. You mean Monday? You mean Martin Luther King Day? You mean Inauguration Day? Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, it lost some of its luster for no other reason than just the timing, John. That's it.
Yeah, I think the timing had a lot to do with it. I'm with you. And everything else there, you mentioned inauguration, MLK Day yesterday. The national championship was last night, but all the other networks were flooded with inauguration coverage. And I'm with you. Nationwide, did this register? I mean, I know Notre Dame's kind of America's team in the sense that, there's Notre Dame fans everywhere. But I didn't feel it. I mean, I was out in California over the last 4 or 5 days. This was a non-issue. And I was around a lot of males that like sports. Non-issue. The NFL, we did watch some basketball because it was early on Saturday. I mean, the game tipped at 9 a.m. out there, the Alabama-Kentucky game. And, it just wasn't really a conversation piece. It really wasn't. I'm thinking,
All right, before the Theodoses and the Chris the Bammers and stuff weigh in on that and give you the question, I'll ask you the question first. Was the presidential inauguration a topic of discussion out in California at all? Was anybody really geeked up about that out there? I wonder, were you able to glean any information?
It was interesting that you brought that up. It was. The area in which where I was, Barry, I think it's one of the few counties that voted for Trump. Most of the others out there in the Golden State did not. Yeah. It's based on the election results, but this county did, and we did. It was brought up, not as much as sporting topics or getting a golf bet right, but it was. And I found it interesting. Yes, I was flying back yesterday, and I was watching a lot of the coverage on my iPad. And I noticed a lot of people on the plane were watching the inauguration as well, which I thought was interesting. I will say this before we go to break, and I know we're going to check in with Brian Matthews. One of the best shirts I did see in the airport, you probably wouldn't have seen this coming home, but it was a picture of Trump. In the front of it, it says, "Daddy's home." And I thought, wow, that's an interesting shirt.
Yeah, that is
particularly in an airport in California. I went, wow, I didn't think you'd see that. But
for the Auburn Tigers, some okay news and some really, really, really good news over the last couple of days. The top 25, the way too early ESPN top 25 college football rankings. They got Ohio State number 1 again, and they got Auburn in the also being considered range. Wow. They didn't make the top 25. Alabama number 12, by the way. So they just inched in. The really, really good news, for the first time this year, there is a consensus number 1 team in men's collegiate basketball, and it is the Auburn Tigers. Lots to get to with Brian Matthews, auburnsports.com, when Longshore and McKnight continues, presented by Bud Light.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Heads or tails, kick or receive, with the wind or against the wind. Buy your friend a Bud Light. Buy a stranger a Bud Light. Go to your team's bar. Go to the opposing team's bar. Buy around during the next truck commercial. Buy around during the next talking duck commercial. If you're truly up for whatever this weekend, grab the perfect beer for whatever happens. Crisp, refreshing Bud Light. Make 2 plans and let the NFL coin toss make the call. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, this is Barry McKnight from Longshore and McKnight. Telling you about our friends at River Region Straw. You're not buying sticks or stems and pine cones. You're buying premium long needle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River Region, full of color, that'll last all season long. They've got locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small. From a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load, River Region Straw also has seasoned firewood for the cold days and nights ahead. Pickup is available, and your order can be delivered if you like. They can even spread your pine straw if that's what you want to have happen, for sure. Call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw and firewood needs at River Region Straw.
Hey, we're back at it here on this Tuesday. Cold out there today, so be careful if you need, even if you're going anywhere, because I know a lot of the schools are closed.
Yes,
businesses as well. So be careful out there. It feels like 18 is what my weather app tells me. It's 26 degrees, but it feels like 18 is what they're telling us. I wonder what the tip is where Brian Matthews is from auburnsports.com. Brian joining us on our City of Montgomery guest hotline. Brian, how you doing? Brian Matthews, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm 57 and do not feel like 18.
No.
And also, I'd like to let Barry know that my wife put me in the also being considered category this morning too. I don't know if that's good or not.
Well, you talk about major upsets. Your wife and my wife just being your wife and my wife.
That's
Those
true. That's
upsets.
true. 31 years. I don't know how.
The insignia you have on your pullover there, Brian. It is from
Sugar Bowl.
The Sugar Bowl.
I think they gave out these jackets maybe 2004. I've had this that long. Maybe.
How old is
maybe
that?
it was a later one.
Yes, I got you.
Probably a later one than that. It's probably it was the Carl Lawson one. What year was that?
I like it. I love the way you categorize those things. The Carl Lawson one. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, Oklahoma. That didn't go well for Auburn.
So let's talk a little bit about that national championship game last night. John and I have already postulated that if there's a takeaway from Ohio State winning the national championship, they spend $300 million a year on athletics. Yep. They spend $20 million on NIL. Brian, is the message there? If you're going to be at the table, you gotta reach the minimum ante, right?
15 5-stars. But I do think that teams can see that, and a Texas Tech maybe can invest that type of money in their program and build up for a big run one year, right? Or maybe another program can. So it doesn't have to be this program like Ohio State, and I don't know if it's sustainable or not, that can spend 20-something million every year on their NIL budget. Maybe it is, but I think other teams can see that as an opportunity too.
Yeah, Brian, that's interesting because we talked a little bit about that this morning. I don't know if teams can do it year in and year out, but if maybe all the pieces kind of come together and you need maybe 2 or 3 or 4 more, and you go to your big dogs and say, hey, we really feel good about where we are, but there's 3 or 4 other guys that if we can get them, we feel really confident we can have a strong year. I'm with you. I think you could have these, every 8 to 10 year runs where, hey, this is our year, but to do it each and every year, to me, that's a tough nut to crack.
I think it is too. And, we've seen Michigan, now Ohio State. I know the SEC, the refs were there, so it does mean more. Somebody got there from the SEC. But, they could very much be right back in the championship game, maybe facing each other next year. I don't think it's I think it's a sign that things are spreading out a little bit. I don't think it's necessarily a sign that the SEC is somehow taking a backseat to any conference.
And if you're going to get to it, you probably to that championship game and face each other again. You're going to have to beat Texas again. You're going to have to beat Oregon again. And there are those out there. How well suited is Auburn? Do you sense there's donor fatigue at all from some of the usual suspects who end up footing a lot of the bill for a lot of the stuff?
Yeah, I think that's the case at a lot of places, right? You're relying in a lot of instances on a certain number of people to give the majority of the money, and it's not something they're used to doing. on a regular basis, and they get to see their return on investment almost immediately. And for Auburn, it's been disappointing the last couple of years. So that does kind of take its toll. We'll see if that can change this year. I certainly don't see Auburn as competing for a national championship next year, but they should be improved, or you would hope they are. But got to see it to believe it.
Yeah, there again, I'm with you. And we've heard it that change is coming. I'm hearing and reading that they're thinking by late spring, early summer, by at least the 4th of July, we'll have some type of plan in place. But I'm just not confident that that's actually going to happen. I hope it does, because I think we need some structure and some guardrails and kind of a playbook, if you will. But I'm just not so sure that's going to happen as soon as maybe some people are predicting it will.
I'm not either. I guess are you referring to some legislation maybe going through? Yeah, I mean, it's
Fingers
possible.
crossed.
Yeah, it's possible. We'll see. Yeah, I'm very skeptical on that too, just to be honest with you.
But you would think the majority of the coaches around the country would want something like this. Now, maybe the Ohio States and some of the others don't, but you would think the vast majority of them would want some type of structure, so it's just not so crazy in the wild west.
Oh, I think that 90% of the coaches want it. I'm speaking of legislation coming through the U.S. Congress and Washington, which is a much different thing to do. Anything that is passed by the NCAA or conferences, if it's on that border, it's going to be tested in the courts, and they are on a long losing streak. So, this talk about not having a spring transfer portal or doing this or anything that restricts player movement is going to be tested in the courts, and it's probably not going to go well for the NCAA or the conferences.
Yeah, NCAA in that respect, if I can use an analogy, they're like Kent State. Not only are they 0-12, but they've only led for like 5 minutes the entire season. It does not go well there. So let's switch gears to the really, really good news. Auburn is now a consensus, unanimous #1 team in men's basketball. I loved your account and BMAT's Monday Musings at auburnsports.com that the wins over Mississippi State, which was a huge margin, and the win at Georgia, which was a pretty tight margin at the end, the commonality there was team play and good defense, particularly the defense. Winning these games without Johni Broome, I think ultimately down the road is going to pay dividends, correct?
I do too. Held both teams around 20 points below their average in their arena. So that says a lot about, what Auburn was able to do defensively, even without Johni Broome, who's a really good rebounder and shot blocker, obviously. And I just think it gives this team confidence that they can overcome the adversity of losing their best player, confidence that different guys can step up when needed to. It wasn't the same guys in both games. Denver didn't play particularly well, in the last game. But some other people like Miles Kelly again stepped up. Tahad Pettiford, the freshman, again stepped up in a big moment. So, I think that is a good sign that different players are stepping up at different times and they're handling this adversity. And I do think there's a probably better than 50-50 chance that Johni will be back Saturday for Tennessee.
Yeah, having the off week, having the off midweek. They don't play again until Saturday against Tennessee. I think is huge in that regard.
Yeah, kind of a weak schedule in the SEC during the week. Only 3 games tonight, 3 games tomorrow. And you're right. Yeah, giving Broome and this Tiger team a little extra rest before Saturday comes at a great time in the season. And I think that's what's remarkable, Brian. Even without their best player being on the floor, that just, to me, Auburn was able to show their depth and to show the basketball world, we certainly want Johni on the floor as much as possible, but when he can't be, we got some pretty good guys that can step in his place.
Yeah, even a guy like Jaheim Hudson, the transfer from SMU, has barely played this season. I think he got around a dozen or so minutes. I don't remember the exact number, but had 3 offensive boards, scored a couple of buckets, just went in there, played some defense, got some fouls, mixed it up with a pretty physical team there in Georgia, and just did a job for Auburn. That's what you have to have guys coming off the bench too. Just do your job. And it was a difference. When you win by 2 on the road, it's those little things that can make a difference.
I also think, tell me if my sense on this is right. Everybody's, doing their part. Everybody is contributing. I think for a guy like Todd Pettiford, he's kind of proving something to himself, right? I mean, every game, it looks to me like he's playing with a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, and I don't think he lacks confidence, and that's not in a bad way, in a really good way. He, you've heard Pearl say it, you heard lots of coaches say it. He's not scared of the moment. In Auburn's biggest games, toughest atmospheres, he's the players who stepped up and played the best consistently in those moments. Just a freshman playing a position that he wasn't expected to play this year. Came in as a 2 guard, quickly moved to 1, and now has taken over, at least half of those minutes there at the point guard position. So he has been outstanding, one of the best freshmen in the Bruce Pearl era, and he's had some really, really good ones.
Now, they have got a little bit of a break. And Bruce Pearl has said consistently, look, this league is a crusher. There are going to be losses. Auburn ain't running the table in the league. And they bring in a Tennessee team on Saturday that is extraordinary in and of itself. Characterize a little bit the importance of that one, Brian, and the importance of having it at home.
Well, you mentioned the stretch. I think 11 of Auburn's remaining 13 games are quad 1 games.
Oh, wow.
I think 7 right now are ranked, and a couple of other those have been ranked, in the last couple of weeks. So
yeah,
it's going to be a grind. Tennessee, of course, was number 1 for several weeks, but before they got knocked off by Florida. And they're a very talented team. Auburn and Tennessee have competed at the top of the league several times over the last 7 or 8 years, along with Alabama and of course the regulars you'd expect. But so this is a big game for the race, the SEC title race. It's a big game because game day will be here. It'll be a focus nationally, and it could also be a big game getting Janai back and seeing how he looks, and Auburn getting back to full health.
Where will game day be set up? Do they do it inside the arena before the game is being played, if I believe?
They do.
Yeah.
The game's at 7:30, so they'll probably do all their stuff in there and have special guests, that they'll let the students in early so they can provide some atmosphere there. And of course, there'll be other stuff going on. But yeah, they'll be inside the Auburn Arena. They definitely don't want to be outside.
Yeah.
In this weather.
Yeah.
No kidding.
So we mentioned this before we got on the air with you. Already people are coming up with their way too early preseason top 25 for college football next year. Would it surprise you if Auburn is in that conversation consistently this upcoming year?
A top 25 team?
Yeah.
They should be. It should not be a surprise. This is year 3 of Hugh Freeze. He's had back-to-back top 10 classes. Brought in one of the best transfer classes in this latest round of portaling. So, this is time for Auburn to step up. There's not really any excuses left. His seat is certainly heated up going on to the season. He needs to show some results. So, yeah, I think that should be the expectation, that Auburn is a top 25 team and competing at least in the top half of the SEC.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big conversation piece throughout the spring and the summer. Once basketball wraps up, it'll certainly be in the crosshairs.
Yep.
We'll see. Yeah, I think there's a lot of anxious Auburn football fans that are ready to see something a little better. Been a tough run, so yeah. I can see it. Little pressure to ramp it up this fall.
Definitely under the gun, so to speak. I need to see better results. Auburn lost to 4 6-6 teams at home, or 6-6 teams. I don't know what they finished in the bowl games, but that's just not acceptable for the kind of support this program gets at Jordan-Hare Stadium, the amount of fan base that's there, that cares, that is engaged. So it's got to change, or there's going to be some big changes coming. I also want to point out this weekend's basketball game is going to be a junior day also, so there's going to be a ton of recruits in. Recruiting is kind of amped up with coaches doing visits, going out on the road, and now getting those kids in for junior days here in January.
Something else to be for people to be watching for out there? Something else that you guys are going to be covering at auburnsports.com. It's a big time of the year for you, even though now the college football season is over. How do people access it all, Brian?
I appreciate that. And we will have full coverage of the junior day, basketball, baseball starts full squad workouts Friday if everything's not frozen to death. All that and more, auburnsports.com. You can follow me on socials at BMATAU. I want to mention my Monday Musing, sponsored by Delicious, Uncle Keith's Red Sauce, Publix, Piggly Wiggly, Renfro's, BMAT15 online. Get 15% off your online order.
You know, since you bring that up, and it was great this week, I read it every week. When I was a kid and I used to watch Sanford and Son, Fred Sanford, one of his favorites was he had an episode about this blues guitarist named Blind Mellow Jelly. And when I was a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing. He talked about, oh, Blind Mellow Jelly. You did a little thing on Lead Belly.
Yeah, how about that?
How about you learn something new every day, because I've heard of him, and every time I hear of him, I think of Blind Mellow Jelly from Sanford and Son. How in the world, Brian? I mean, you know, where do these things pop up? Because that was, I mean, I didn't know the first thing about it, and I'm sitting here reading it, and I'm glued to it almost as much as I am your synopsis of the Auburn basketball team. That was
Kurt
great.
Cobain was the first one that really popped that into my head, you know, and writing about him and his appearance on MTV Unplugged and him playing in the Pines, which is a Lead Belly original song. And I think the most interesting thing from that is he was convicted of murder in Texas, put in the penitentiary, and he wrote a song about the Texas governor, and then the governor gave him clemency.
They let him out.
Yeah.
Because he wrote a song about the governor.
Man.
Yep. So I need to work on my songwriting skills just in case.
In case.
That's exactly right.
Oh, that is a great
Good
story.
stuff. Awesome. Brian, as always, thanks so much.
I appreciate it, guys. Y'all be safe out there, everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
You too, buddy.
Soon.
Thank you.
Right,
Thank you so much. That's Brian Matthews of auburnsports.com on our City of Montgomery guest hotline. Man, always some great information, obviously about Auburn athletics, but a little musical twist in there as well. So we always appreciate Brian's time.
A couple of things before we go to break. Ty Edwards, we're talking about, again, Blind Mellow Jelly from Sanford and Son, and Lead Belly from Brian's latest BMAS Monday Musings presented by Keith's Red Sauce. Ty says not to be confused with Blind Melon Chitlins from Cheech and Chong. And how about this, John? This is from Brad Mulligan.
Yeah,
about 5 minutes ago. He says, John and Barry, I don't get to watch live much anymore because of business. But I tell you guys what, love seeing and hearing both of y'all. Listeners since 2007. John, that's one of the things we hear most. There's a lot of people who, because of business or, travel or whatever, don't get a chance to watch us live. That's why we love Spotify, where you can listen to us when you're going. And also we love the fact that, man, you can catch us anytime, right?
Yep, you certainly can, Barry. You can check us out on YouTube at any time that's convenient for you. Obviously, we're live from 7 to 9 in the morning, but it's replayed, looped. You can pick it up anytime you want to and start from the beginning and watch at any time that's convenient for you. So we really appreciate that. On Spotify as well, yellowhammernews.com. You can check it out there. And, of course, there's a little brief synopsis and some video content about what we do each and every day here on Longshore and McKnight at yellowhammernews.com. We're very proud and happy about our association with those good folks at Yellow Hammer News. And, of course, you name it, Instagram, all of these other social media platforms, you can check it out there. Always some daily clips of the show on Instagram that have become very popular. We really appreciate people checking us out however they can.
Appreciate the kind words, Brad. And we appreciate your constant and consistent support of the program down through the years. In association with Yellowhammer News, it is Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
Some days you hit snooze, but not today. Today you have to go on a run to get burgers for the tailgate. You've got to haul something heavy, a cooler stocked with Bud Light. When you've got beer and football, nothing is hard. Until the other team scores. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus, copyright 2024, Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry is an Alabama-based, family-owned and operated business that specializes in dry cleaning and laundry, serving the River region since 1941. There are 12 convenient locations across the River region. Find one close to you or call 481-1911 for free pickup and delivery. For 83 years, Central Alabama has trusted Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry. You should too.
Couple of minutes before the top of the hour, Travis Reier going to join us from Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide with Travis, and looking forward to that. And hadn't mentioned it yet, but we did after Alabama lost at home to Ole Miss a week ago today, and talked about having to hit the road to go to Lexington, Kentucky for their next game. And they did, and they went up there and won, scoring 102 points, I believe, getting back to their, what I guess most people believe is their normal output of triple digits. I did see some social media text or tweet or whatever it was that 41 teams have gone and played North Carolina and Kentucky on the road in the same year. And Alabama's the only team to beat both of them on the road.
In the same, I did not know that. And you might as well get used to it. There's going to be more games like Kentucky for Alabama than there were games like Ole Miss at home. What you don't see is almost the absolute certainty that Nate Oates was chapping their behinds all week heading into that game. As bad, got to give props, got to tip hats. As bad as and uninterested as they looked in losing by 10 at home to Ole Miss, that and getting called out, John was absolutely right about looking unmotivated, looking disinterested, looking as though they were going through the motions. As bad as they looked against Ole Miss in that regard, boy, they got after it. At Rupp, in front of 23,000 fans, and Kentucky kept making runs and runs and runs, and Alabama kept answering and answering and answering. It's a big hat tip to the Crimson Tide because, man, that takes some doing. Now, to see whether they have truly gotten that Ole Miss game out of their system with a big resounding win at Kentucky. They got Vanderbilt at home tonight.
Yeah, they do.
6:00 tonight. They owe the fans something. After, people filled that place last week against Ole Miss and they didn't show up. This is going to be kind of another step for a really good Alabama team to kind of prove something to themselves and keep the ball rolling.
Don't need to lay an egg against the Commodores tonight. Of course, who beat Tennessee over the weekend, so maybe they're feeling pretty good about themselves. But maybe Alabama's catching Vanderbilt at a good time. Maybe a little high on themselves, who knows? But they that was a big win. Bear, if they'd have gone up to Lexington and lost 2 losses, you kind of wonder what's going on here. And I know it's still early, but if you're a team like Alabama that's gotten a lot of hype, a lot of publicity, you got to come back after a tough loss at home, like they sustained against Ole Miss. You can't go on the road. You got to prove to the basketball world you are for real. And I think that was a step on Saturday.
Couple of games at home. Vanderbilt tonight, 6:00, SEC Network. Then LSU Saturday. I believe that's even later. I think that's 7:30 on the SEC Network for the Crimson Tide basketball team. Over the weekend, Tennessee got beaten by Vanderbilt in Nashville. Show your gold. Oklahoma big over South Carolina, Florida big over Texas, Missouri big over Arkansas, Mississippi State, they beat Ole Miss 84-81. We got a chance to watch that game on the bus coming back from Mobile, and Texas A&M by double digits over LSU. Troy loses at the last minute, in the last second at South Alabama, and that one hurt. I probably can't say too much as a representative and an employee at Troy University about the refereeing there.
Yeah.
Troy was down 20 at halftime.
Oh, wow.
At South Alabama, who's the first place team in the league. They end up taking a lead late. Troy had a 1-point lead, 63-62, 2.9 seconds to go. South Alabama misses a shot. Ball goes out of bounds. And it went off of South Alabama, but they gave it to South Alabama. Then they threw a lob to the rim, foul against Troy. Kid hits 2 free throws. And did you see my brush with greatness?
I did. I sure did.
I sent it specially to John. Bart Heisch did the color analysis on ESPN Plus for South Alabama. Got a chance to spend a few minutes with Bart. He was introducing me to a couple of people in the stands. Highly complimentary of our show.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, we're highly complimentary of his impact and his input into our show as well. I just wish the game could have ended up differently. 2 big, huge for Troy men's basketball coming up. As a matter of fact, tomorrow on the show, Troy men's basketball coach Scott Cross will join us to kind of talk it out, because Thursday against Southern Miss and then Saturday, South Alabama coming to Trojan Arena. That's big stuff for basketball.
Some big games. Yeah, you're right about that. Looking forward to talking to Coach tomorrow here on the program. That's a tough way to lose. Woo! Yeah. Wow. Ouch.
Bus ride back, but
man,
got a chance to watch a little basketball on the trip back. Right now in the SEC, again, Auburn's the only undefeated team. They're 5-0. There are 3 teams at 4-1: Alabama, Missouri, and Ole Miss. There's a boatload of teams at 3-2. Look, the next big challenge for Auburn in terms of internally, I mean, they got a big challenge on Saturday against Tennessee, but it's at Neville Arena, is how they're going to handle a loss, because they ain't going 18-0 in the SEC, folks. Not this SEC.
You
not
wouldn't
the
think
best
so.
Basketball league I've ever seen in my life. They're going to lose at some point. They may lose at home, which they haven't done yet this year. They're 8-0. Got to see how they react to all that, because I'm telling you, this league this year is going to give us some really, really good basketball all year long.
It is. And I will say this, Barry, if they do run the SEC, then they're more for real than we thought. And I'm with you. It's a tough road, particularly when you get on that SEC road. It is difficult. Hey, joining us now, our friend Travis Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide. Of course, Travis, a big part of our program here on Tuesdays. And Travis, hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us.
Doing great. How are you guys?
We're doing really well. First of all, put a capper on the college football season. A, your thoughts about last night's Ohio State win over Notre Dame, and B, your thoughts about how Ohio State's approach to winning the national championship is the blueprint for all of the teams that hope to win one in the future. Am I right, Travis?
College football, college athletics, 2024, here we are. So, yeah, the team with, by, I guess, payroll, the best roster, ended up winning the whole thing and took a sort of interesting route to getting there. But I've said it before, we've seen teams take similar routes even when we were in the 14 playoff or even the BCS era. So it is possible to do what Ohio State did, to do it, though, and that that playoff. I mean, it's crazy to think about as much as anything that in the same year you've got a Rose Bowl champion, a Cotton Bowl champion, and a national champion all in one package, but they're not the conference champion. I mean, that to me just kind of sums it all up.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that, but you're right. So what do you think, Travis, other programs around the country, particularly programs in the SEC, are thinking today? I mean, is it all about the best team money can buy? Is that where we're heading?
I don't know. I think we're going to overreact to that a little bit on the heels of what we saw. It's still a team that, lost 2 games in the regular season. It's not like this team ran roughshod over college football. It's a team that lost to a very average Michigan team on its home field. Did have the 1-point loss out in Eugene. But yeah, it's certainly going to be the overlying thought that who with the most gold wins, and that's going to be important. I mean, I'm not going to try to undervalue what that can mean for programs, but you still gotta go through a gauntlet. And Ohio State wasn't a first round bye team. This is a team that had its stadium basically taken over by Tennessee fans in a home game to open the playoffs. So ultimately, I still think the message for me doesn't change at all. If you get elite quarterback play at the right time of the year and you've got that kind of roster to go along with it, you're going to probably win a lot of games in the postseason.
Am I oversimplifying things to agree with you there? Elite quarterback play is an absolute must if you're even going to sniff that. And it can discount a lot of your NIL gains personnel-wise if you don't have that guy at quarterback. Is that even more important now than it's ever been, do you think?
I think it's still as important, if not more, Barry. And, look, for 12 games, it didn't look like Will Howard was that guy, I said it before, he looked like a poor man's Jake Coker to me. But then, he hits the playoff, and you put him with Chip Kelly and all that talent, a couple of backs, a couple of 3 wide receivers, and give that offensive line for Ohio State a lot of credit, too. That's where depth really showed up because they lost a couple of key guys in that first 5.
Yep.
You wouldn't have been able to tell it based on how they played in the playoff, but sure. I think about, look at what happened to George in the playoff. Quinn Ewers, I would say he was elite on a consistent basis, but he made the plays he needed to make to get Texas to where they got to. Drew Aller wasn't good enough, against Notre Dame. So, those are the type of situations that you're going to think back on when you think about playoff football, whether it's college or pro.
Travis Reier on YouTube joining us here today. Switching to basketball, and we talked about it after Alabama lost at home to Ole Miss, how important it was to go to Lexington and get a win. I mean, I know it's early in the season, but that could have sent the wrong message. Looks like they had a great latter week of practice, Travis, because that team played really well, scoring over 100 points in Lexington.
Yeah, usually when a Nate Oates team makes 13 threes and approaches or hits 30 made free throws, they're going to like the end result. And that was the case for Alabama up in Lexington over the weekend. Grant Nelson, Mark Sears, typically if they combine for right around 50 points between the two of them, Alabama's going to be in a good spot. That was the case on Saturday as well. And, look, Alabama, I've been asked about this. If they had beaten Ole Miss at home, would they have been as engaged or as motivated to win in Lexington? And I think they would have been. I mean, we're not talking about going to Columbia, Missouri, or going to Starkville or some other place. Regardless, whenever you go to Lexington, you're going to be locked in. I don't know how, if you have a pulse, how you couldn't be. So I didn't really put a lot of stock into that, but sure. After that home loss in a league like this, you got to get a replacement grade somewhere. You got to replace an F. And, I know Longshore and myself very familiar with that from our academic background, but they got an A. They went to Lexington and got not just a replacement grade, they got an A.
Yeah, you can only clap erasers for so long. And kids, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google that. I thought Nate Oates made an interesting point post game, and I'm still trying to figure out the value of it, although I believe he's right. Mark Sears, he had 24 against Kentucky. Grant Nelson had 25. Nate Oates pointed out that Mark Sears leads the league in assists, which I didn't realize, even though even though his point production, he's only scored 15 points less total this year than he did at this time last year. Is the message there that Sears doesn't always have to score the basketball to help this team win, right?
Yeah, I mean, their depth at guard, whether it's Phylon, whether it's Youngblood now, the way they're able to be versatile within their lineup, even some of their 6'9", 6'10" guys can play out on the perimeter. There isn't as much pressure on him to deliver 25 plus a night and even be efficient in doing so. So, yeah, they have that luxury with him, and he's certainly capable of. He's a great finder, and some of his deliveries from the paint back out to the perimeter are unlike anything you'll ever see. I don't know how he makes some of the passes he makes with both hands too, right or left. Yeah. And that's big for them. And obviously they still want to shoot it better from three than they had to this point. It was a little encouraging again to see them closer to the 40% mark in Lexington than they had been for much of this season. But yeah, I think Mark can beat you in the paint. He can beat you off the 3-point line, and again, he can beat you setting up teammates too.
What about tonight's game? A quick turnaround. It's at home. Vanderbilt, who of course beat Tennessee, coming into Coleman tonight.
Yeah, it was like Nervandy up in Nashville over the weekend, right? The men's and women's teams beat UT. So, yeah, instead of Nirvana, Nervandy. So we'll see how they come off of that. But it's kind of a similar situation for Alabama as it was last week. You come off a road win. Big Saturday road win. Alabama came off a big Saturday road win at Texas A&M.
Right.
Didn't have the required juice when it got back home for a Tuesday quick turnaround, and paid the price for it. So, it didn't feel so good a week ago, I'm sure, for Nate Oates, but having that in his back pocket and kind of as a hammer to continue to work on his team, really not just for this week, but throughout the season, it could prove beneficial beginning tonight with Andy.
All right, I've got to ask you just your opinion on this. I referenced it really briefly in the first hour of our show. ESPN, right after, it seems, the national champion was crowned, they immediately cranked out their way too early college football top 25 rankings for 2025, and it's still the same. Even though Ohio State loses their starting quarterback, look out for Julian Sayin next year. They're number one. They've got, I think, Texas number 2, even though they're losing their quarterback. Travis, they've got Alabama at number 12 in their way too early preseason, which is, of course, unacceptable to Alabama fans. And they're talking about the Crimson Tide losing their quarterback as a good thing. If the Bama fans, if Alabama's going to be higher than number 12, if they're going to prove the naysayers wrong and get higher than number 12, what are the key factors there? What are the key accomplishments that they need to uncover?
I think they have to take on a more truer identity to what Kalen DeBoer really wants his football teams to look like and play like, and that starts on offense. And I'm not going to sit here and go down the rabbit hole of Jalen Milroe as a college quarterback. I think there were, like other eras of quarterback play at Alabama and others, there were pros and cons. There were undeniable positives, and then there were the negatives as well. I think the key for Alabama this offseason is identify your guy as quickly as you possibly can. If you need to have a competition, that's great. I think that was lacking from the quarterback position myself in year one under Kalen DeBoer. It wasn't that Jalen ended up being the starting quarterback, it was just kind of accepted from day one of Kalen DeBoer's tenure that it would be Jalen. That surprised me a little bit. I expected Jalen to ultimately be the quarterback. I thought the position would be, we're going to open this thing up at least through spring, let all these guys compete. That never felt like it was the case. So, I think that's important, not just because you make sure you get the right guy. It's also because every other guy on the team that's competing at their respective positions where there is legitimate competition sees that and hears that. So, I think that's part of it. They got to be better at offensive tackle. I just want to see kind of the look of the offensive line moving forward. That looked more like the previous offensive line last year. When you looked at Washington's 2023 offensive line, those guys didn't look like Caden Proctor. They didn't look like, that type of group. So how does that play out in the offseason with a real first full run through? And then are they really real on defense? Because there's been a lot of positivity on that side of the ball in terms of personnel returning and kind of how they played. I never thought they, against legit competition, played at a high level. Maybe LSU. So I'm still kind of, we'll see a little bit, even with the defense. But, the important thing to remember about these way too early, and I think Brett McMurphy had Alabama like 23rd in his, is always check Vegas too, though. Because I think Vegas still has Alabama as a top 10 team if you try to get down out there.
Yeah, that's the first place I'll look, Travis. I want to see what the boys in Vegas think before any of these other guys. Is the Ryan Grubb story done, or is this going to continue to linger on?
It almost feels like maybe Grubb's going to work through the process, and if he can stay in the NFL, maybe that would be what he would do. But it's just sort of wait and see at this point, I guess. I think Kalen's seems pretty comfortable with Nick Sheridan. And at the end of the day, it's Kalen's offense, like we talked about before, it was interesting with Grubb's departure from Seattle because apparently there was a disconnect in terms of balance on offense. Geno Smith's numbers looked pretty good. The passing game looked pretty good, but there wasn't enough run game, apparently, for the Seattle folks to keep Ryan around.
Travis Reier is with us. I got one more question. Now, it's a given that the Jacksonville Jaguars have shown quite a bit of excellence in their hiring practices recently in their front office. I mean, that's beyond conversation. Obviously, they've done a great job with some of their hires in the front office. But as far as head coach goes, it shattered me that Ben Johnson went to the Bears. I kind of get it. Does that mean Liam Cohen is going to be the new coach of the Jags?
That is sort of the sentiment right now. And, I know nothing, but that feels like it could be the move. Robert Saleh is in that mix, the former Jets coach. They're bringing in 3 candidates for in-person interviews. And the thing about Shad Khan, the owner, is even when they hired Peterson, you thought it was starting to narrow down, and then after 3 guys would come in, you'd hear, here come 3 more. So I'm not quite sure it's just going to be limited to these 3 guys. But Cohen makes a lot of sense because you got the quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, or at least you think you do. And, you want that sort of offensive guy. My thing all along has been, that's great. Even with Ben Johnson, I understand. Offensive savant, quarterback whisperer, all those things are great. But from my stance, the Jaguars need a sense and a feeling within the building that sort of resonates to winning on a daily basis. They need culture as much or more than they need, in my opinion, sort of a quarterback guru, offensive wizard.
Travis, the 4 teams left in the NFL, the AFC and NFC championship. I think most people, they're not surprised, but maybe the Commanders getting into that NFC championship game.
Yeah, boy, Jaden Daniels. When we talk about quarterback position in the NFL, really anywhere, like we talked about earlier with college football, it's a beautiful thing when you get it right, man. And it looks like the Commanders definitely did. This guy can win games any way you need him to do it, and he showed you too. Intangibly, he's not a back down guy at all. Going into that environment over the weekend and making it look really easy. I understand Lions depleted from a personnel perspective on the defensive side of the ball, but to go in there and kind of win in a shootout type of situation against Ben Johnson and Goff and that offense, you just can't say enough good things about Jaden Daniels, and I wouldn't put it past the Commanders at this point to go into Philly and get the job done. It's a really fun Final Four because I think you go back to the quarterback situation, you're excited about that. I mean, how could you not be excited about Mahomes and Josh Allen, and now with Daniels emerging, and it's a big spot for Jalen. A big spot for Sirianni and that whole deal to get it done at home, because if they don't, this could be a come apart situation in some ways for that team. There seems to be some things simmering a little bit right under the surface, and for all the success and for all the wins, if they don't get it done in this spot again, you just wonder what the reaction might be.
It sounds like you're talking about Ryan Day in Ohio State, Travis.
It does. It does. And, you got A.J. Brown reading War and Peace over on the sideline and everything else. So, I mean, I know you can say, well, that's how I kind of keep things in for it. What? Okay, great. But
that's a little bit different.
It feels weird. And, hey, look, if it works for him, great, but it just seems a little weird in Philly.
It's just weird. It's odd. It's like, looking over there on the sidelines at Jeff Davis. Longshore's got that clipboard, and if you get the binoculars and look at it, he's got a folded over copy of Mad Magazine. Unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty much. Arthur, what was it? Arthur P. Newman? What was that guy's name? Alfred P. Newman, Yeah,
I mean, you look at Philly's record and you think, boy, everything ought to be harmonious and everything is great and everybody feels good. But you just don't get that sense. It's almost like the Steinbrenner Yankees if you're an old head, Yankees could be 101-20, and everything was about to come apart in the Bronx. Right. It kind of feels like that with the Eagles.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way.
Always such great content just with us, just in our segment. So much more available on your YouTube outlets and on social media. Let people know how they can access more, Travis.
Yeah, I'm there at X or Twitter, whatever your preference is, at Travis Reier, TravisReier. You can also catch me on YouTube at Reier on YouTube.
Hey, Travis, as always, we appreciate your time, my friend. I look forward to next week. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too, buddy. Thanks so much, Travis Reier, on our City of Montgomery guest hotline today. Always a lot of great content. All right, when we come back, we're going to check out the River Region Straw chat line. Hey, you need some seasoned firewood for these really, really cold days and nights we're experiencing? Give Kenny a call or text today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959. And Kenny and his crew can have that firewood delivered to your home, or you can go by and pick it up yourself. It's up to you. But call or text Kenny today, 669-5959, to get that seasoned firewood to keep you warm from River Region Straw.
One quick thing. Somebody just texted me, what's the deal about complimenting the Jaguars hires in the front office? It's kind of an inside thing. Travis's daughter, her name's Savannah. She was a really good college basketball player at Shelton State and at the University of Hawaii. In 2024, Savannah was the director of on-campus recruiting at Southern Cal. Now she is in her first year as the manager of player and personnel relations for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, wow.
She's big time, and always have had fun kind of following her career. That's all we're talking about there. She's
awesome.
Yep, good stuff. Let's
and
take a break.
We have the Victorland 777 topic wheel coming too. So, Chris, don't fret. It's coming.
Yes, it's next in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Heads or tails, kick or receive, with the wind or against the wind. Buy your friend a Bud Light, buy a stranger a Bud Light. Go to your team's bar, go to the opposing team's bar. Buy around during the next truck commercial, buy around during the next talking duck commercial. If you're truly up for whatever this weekend, grab the perfect beer for whatever happens. Crisp, refreshing Bud Light. Make 2 plans and let the NFL coin toss make the call. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. Their licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. Okay, here we are back at it. It is about 25 minutes past the hour here on a frigid Tuesday. Longshore and McKnight, great stuff from Brian Matthews, auburnsports.com, Travis Ryer on YouTube. We will announce our bowl prediction contest winner tomorrow. I think it has to go through the accounting firm to verify it and make it all authentic. And once they do that, we will have our winner announced. We'll do that tomorrow. We are scheduled to be out at the Montgomery Regional Airport on Thursday morning, weather permitting.
Yep.
And that's where we're picking up our travel voucher for our winner that we can deliver to whoever that may be, and they can fly out of MGM. Barry had another great experience flying in and out of MGM over the last several days. Left out, as I mentioned earlier, on Thursday afternoon. Just happened to notice an airplane that looked real familiar over at the private aviation section, and took a picture of it and sent it to a buddy and kind of laid the scoop on me there a little bit. But
somebody texted me and they said, was that the same airplane that flew Saban in on that infamous arrival in Tuscaloosa where Colette says, we're balling, baby? I said, my gosh, I hope not.
Yeah, I think they've upgraded.
Was like 18 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think they've upgraded. I'll send you a picture of it and see if you have an older one that Saban we can compare the two aircraft. But another great experience and seamless. And once again, Barry and some buddies that were with me, we get on the plane yesterday in Dallas, coming to Montgomery, full flight, coming back to Montgomery. And somebody looked at me and said, isn't it amazing? We don't know anybody on this plane. I went, I say that all the time.
He does say that all the time. It's like in any group of 125, 100 people or whatever, John ought to know at least one of them, right?
You would think.
Any random 100 people on the plane coming in or leaving Montgomery Regional Airport, and there's more and more all the time. John ought to know somebody out there. The genius is that even if John doesn't know somebody, he is really, really good at acting like he does. How many times did we walk down the hall of the radio station and somebody go, hey, John, how you doing? Hey, buddy, man, good to see you. What's going on? And we'll walk 5 or 6 rows down and says, who was that?
Yeah.
And I said, that's our consultant. He's been in here for 2 days. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
Sure. What does he know?
I didn't know him. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
But, so we'll be out there Thursday, there again, weather permitting, and we'll have all that for our winner, and we will announce that tomorrow, get it all authenticated, and we'll be ready to go. We'll do it again. Hey, if you did not win, I know it's hard to accept, but you're going to have another chance during the NCAA men's basketball tournament in March.
Yeah.
So just put that in as they say, put that in your pipe and smoke it. That's coming next. you got a chance to maybe redeem yourself during the hoops tournament.
Yeah. That's what they used to tell David Palmer, but there was a different context. Or what was the guy? DJ Hall. Anyway, let's get to our Victoryland 777 topic wheel. I think we've got 5.
I believe we
Honest
do.
to gosh, Gern must have had to whittle it down because we could have had 25 if we had wanted after this weekend we had. Let's go to it.
So let's spin it, Gern, and see what we got coming up first on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel, and it is going to be, well, SEC hoops. And we've kind of recapped what happened over the weekend, but Barry, it's a thin card tonight and tomorrow compared to former weeks.
Alabama is at home tonight, the number 4 Crimson Tide hosting the Vanderbilt Commodores. Will there be a caravan coming up from Butler County? That is still to be confirmed, but that's 6 o'clock tonight. SEC Network, Alabama favored by 11.5. Crimson Tide, by the way, is at home against LSU on Saturday night. Also, Tennessee, number 6 in the country, hosting Mississippi State. That's at 6 on the Deuce. Tennessee then goes to Auburn this weekend. And number 22, Missouri, kind of an outlier here. Missouri's number 22. They're 15-3. They've had a really good year. They go to 12-6 Texas. Texas is 12-6 and unranked. So how come Texas is a 1.5 favorite in that one?
How do they know?
3 games tomorrow. Again, Auburn is off in the midweek. No games. Get a chance to rest and get Janai Broom back. Number 5, Florida tomorrow at South Carolina. Number 13, Texas A&M at number 16, Ole Miss. That's at 8. Also on the ESPN2. Also tomorrow, Georgia and Arkansas, 8 o'clock on the SEC Network.
So, hey, there you have it. Kind of, there again, a lighter card, but some good action. And heck, if the weather's coming like they're predicting, what else are you going to do? Watch some hoops tonight.
Yep, there you go. There you go. I do wonder about the crowd tonight at Coleman Coliseum. They do deserve a sellout. I would not blame anybody if it was not.
Yeah, and
be careful out there.
And from what there again, I'm no weather expert, but it seems to be that everything's going to be south of there. So I think it's going to be cold, but who knows?
Yeah,
keep an eye out.
John's most consistent weather prediction is I don't think the really heavy stuff's going to be coming down for quite a while now.
Let's tee it up. Let's go.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Yeah. SEC hoops. All right. What else we got left? Let's spin that wheel yet again. See what comes up. And it is
PGA.
It lands on the PGA. So people are, PGA, what is he talking about? So Barry, I was out in California over the last several days, and I just happened to be, where they were playing the American Express, which was the stop on the PGA Tour this week.
That's Torrey Pines, right?
No, it was in La Quinta, California, right there in Palm Springs. All those communities kind of run together. You go from Palm Springs to Palm Desert to Rancho Mirage to Indian Wells to La Quinta. You go from one to the other. They don't even know you've left one to get into the other. They're all there together. But La Quinta's kind of on one end and Palm Springs is on the other, and every other little communities kind of in between. So, it was at PGA West. We just happened to plan this event at the same time the American Express was being played. We didn't really know it was being played at the time we made our plans, but lo and behold, it was. Some of the field was overseas playing in Dubai. Others were playing here, so you didn't have the Rory McIlroys in that crowd, but Justin Thomas was there and Jason Day and several other big names as well. This is the tournament that Nick Dunlap won last year as an amateur, the former Alabama golfer. Won the American Express out there. Interesting thing about it, even though we were there and the tournament was being held where we were, I did not see 1 minute of the golf tournament, except what I saw on TV. Didn't really see any of the players. Place is massive. There are a lot, there's probably 5 or 6 golf courses at this facility. They play the Stadium course. They play the Nicholas course. There's a Wise golf course, a Greg Norman, and Arnold Palmer. They got more golf courses out there at PGA West than you can shake a stick at. But as I thought about it, I go, here I am at a big golf event, and I'm not going to see any of the action. Now, I was out there playing golf myself. Got a friend that has lived out there for about 30 years, and he told us about 20, we were counting it up, 22, 23 years ago, hey, if you guys want to come out here, get out here, you can play all the golf you want. We said, okay. And 23 years later, we're still doing it. He hadn't stopped inviting us. So it was kind of neat, big crowd. You know, you could tell the spectators were kind of out there. But what I thought was unique, we were coming back from eating dinner one night, got the windows rolled down. The weather was beautiful out there. And I hear a Journey song playing in the background.
No way. So what? So
I'm
let's
thinking,
dance.
What is going on here? They were playing a concert there at the facility in association with the American Express golf event there. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, how do we get in on this thing? Let's go check it out.
doing the bump out there in the middle of the fairway?
I'm thinking, let's go. What the heck?
So
yeah.
So,
I did not hear anybody over there going, turn that down. The man's a menace. But
can I give you one more thing about that, about the American Express, the tournament out there John's talking about? There is a PGA Tour rookie. His name is William Mao. American kid, Danny Noonan, you know, Cinderella story coming out of nowhere. On Friday, he goes into number 16 at the course, which is a par 5.
Yep.
John, he goes into number 16 on Friday. Still, you know, a lot of golf still to play. He goes into number 16 at 6 under for the day. He leaves number 16 at 7 over. He had a 13. This is a PGA Tour event. He had a 13. I was watching the video of it. I mean, he sculls a shot from the fairway. The whole thing looked like you had green, and then you had it was brown. Hits it into the bunker. Then he hits it out of the bunker over the green onto the other side, which looked like a bunker, but it was just brown. Over again, a 13 on a PGA Tour hole. He goes in at 6 under. He leaves at 7 over.
Yeah, obviously that was a big topic of conversation when we were out there. That they play this event on 3 different courses, which is unique to it. And this was the old Bob Hope Desert Classic. This is this event. And so they played over 3 courses. They play it at the Nicklaus Tournament course, at the La Quinta Club, and the Stadium course. The Nicklaus and the Stadium are all at PGA West. La Quinta Country Club is there in La Quinta. And those are the 3 that they play it on. The final round is on the Stadium course. And the Stadium course there is similar to the one in Ponte Vedra. Same type, stadium type golf, target golf. They have an island green similar to the one in Ponte Vedra. It's just the West Coast version of what's outside of Jacksonville. I've actually played that course a couple of times. The Stadium course, Pete Dye was the architect, and the hole number 16 is a par 5, and its unique feature is to the left of the green is a huge bunker that is probably 30 feet below the green surface. So when you're in that bunker, that green is really high up, and that's you don't practice that shot every day, hitting a bunker shot that's got to go that high, and then being able to stop on the green. You want to shoot a flare on just to make sure nobody knows that you're here. I'm still there are actually steps. There are steps down to the sand of that bunker from the green to get into it, and this guy just couldn't get out of the bunker. It was, and then when he sculled it, he's having to hit it back. And that's the thing about the Stadium courses that, a lot of guys can play them, and it's target golf and they know where to hit it. But if you get off course, you can get in some serious trouble and post a big number.
Made me feel a little bit better about my game anyway.
Yeah. Unfortunately, nobody in our group had a 13 over the weekend, but that's a tough one there. But and somebody did ask me, did you feel any effects of the smoke in LA? We did not, because all of it was blowing kind of westerly out toward the Pacific. The weather was just phenomenal. I mean, it couldn't have been any better, but did not have any issues with that. But man, those folks in LA,
Say a little prayer. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Let's take a break. When we come back, more of our Victoryland 777 topic wheel. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, folks, let's start 2025 off on the right foot at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where you can get a 2024 Ford Bronco up to $10,000 off MSRP as low as $34,990. What about the popular Ford Escape? Well, you can get one as low as $24,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. You know, the Ford Explorer is what started the SUV craze back in the early 80s, and it's still going strong today. You can save up to $8,000 off MSRP as low as $33,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. But I know what you're asking me. John, what about the popular F-150, America's best-selling pickup for over 50 years in a row? Well, you can get a 2024 F-150 Crew Cab at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP, plus no payments for 90 days. And they've got plenty to choose from. I've never seen as many cars and trucks on the ground at Stivers as they've got there today. Go by and see for yourself. 4000 Eastern Boulevard, Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where Price sells cars and trucks.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. Glad you're with us here today. About 19 minutes to the top of the hour. I was looking here on the River Region Straw chat line. Dewey Oxberger, who I believe is down in South Alabama, says the snow has started where he's from. And I was trying to look earlier. He sent a chat earlier and actually told us where he was from, and I can't seem to find it, but nonetheless, he says it's happening.
Dewey. Check in again, Ox, and tell us.
Oh, Daphne. He's from Daphne.
Snowing in Daphne right now.
Yeah. Snowing in Daphne. I don't know. I just don't feel it here. I'm feeling, I've been down this road before. All the excitement, the giddiness, and I don't know. I'm just a pessimist at heart, I guess. I got to see it to believe it, Barry.
I don't even want to see it. I mean, if it misses Troy, I ain't gonna miss it for a moment. Chris the Bammer says it's snowing in Mobile. Ty says lots of good memories from Palm Springs when I was stationed at 29 Palms in the early 90s. As I recall, there was a tremendous amount of bachelor parties. Yeah. Let's go back to the wheel. Our Victoryland 777 topic wheel. Here we go.
Spin the wheel. 3 left. Let's see what we got. And it's going to land on AFC, NFC. We kind of touched on that a little bit with Travis today, Barry. I don't know what the preseason odds were on the Commanders making it to the Super Bowl, but I got to think the number was pretty high.
Well,
pretty amazing. Jayden Daniels, he surprised me.
He surprised everybody. Look, he won the Heisman Trophy. I get that. Really good player. But how many rookies have come in and done what he's done? John, obviously he's talented. He can run it. He's extremely accurate. But he's doing it against NFL defenses in his rookie year. And the thing that impresses me the most is he ain't scared. I mean, for a viewer base that we have that is lamenting hard about a quarterback not being able to let it rip, make a decision and go with it. This guy is not afraid. He knows what he's doing. He knows where the ball's supposed to be. He knows he can put it there. He's doing it in the NFL, and it doesn't seem to bother him one bit, man. He is just playing free and easy. Commanders take on the Eagles in Philly for the NFC Championship on Sunday at 2 on Fox. Eagles are a 6-point favorite, and Travis is right. The Eagle fans are saying, look, Sirianni, if you ain't getting us here this year, we're going to find somebody who can. But the Commanders have that feel about them, The other one, of course, yet again, Bills and Chiefs. Didn't we know that it was kind of going to come down to this in the AFC, John? Didn't we kind of feel that was everybody else can play the games they needed to play and everything, but this is the way it's going to be in the AFC?
Yeah,
right?
A lot of people were kind of thinking, wow, Buffalo's a 1.5 underdog in a game at home. A lot of hype about the Ravens, played well in the regular season, but man, seems like we've seen this movie before with Baltimore. They have a great regular season and they can't get over the hump to make it into the Super Bowl. I mean, that just kind of seems to be the label for the Ravens. Yep. Just can't finish the deal.
Well, that's also been the litany for the Bills. Do the Bills get, the Bills went to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row, didn't win any of them. Now they've got a chance to go to the Super Bowl, but they've got to get past the Chiefs, who've been doing just enough. I mean, they haven't been the dominant Chiefs, but they're 15-2 in the regular year. That's Sunday at 5:30. That one's on CBS.
We talked about a big field goal in the national championship game last night for Ohio State to get that game to 11. Big for the Phantom.
Oh, big.
What about the safety at the end of the Kansas City game?
It was the right move to make. It was the right thing to do. They're up in that game. They take a safety. I've got Houston as a 9.5-point dog. They end up losing it by 9. How do they know?
How do they know? Yeah. I know that the safety was a big conversation piece.
Yeah. Well, some people may have gotten it right at 9, instead of the 9.5. If you had it at 9, yeah, I can imagine how that would be a heartbreaker. Of course, Robbie checks in.
Robbie,
says, Alabama Hoops plays basketball versus Vanderbilt 6 p.m. tonight. Yeah, Robbie, wake up earlier. You miss so much.
Yeah.
Also from my spectacular wife, Dee. She says, my husband hates cold weather, which is the truth. And she loves it, which is also the truth. I mean, she'll be out. She's not going to be out there making snow angels or anything, although she might. But man, she loves that stuff. Golly, if it gets
I don't
below
mind
40,
it.
I am an unhappy man.
I'm not going to want to live out in it. But I don't mind it for a few days. There again, I don't want to stay out in it for long periods of time. That does not do it for me. But it's kind of nice. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, let's spin that wheel yet again and see what happens next. Man, Chris the Bammer's got to be loving this. We got to the wheel early today.
Yep, like it.
Hey, okay, you mentioned the Trojans. Big week on the hardwood for Troy basketball. We'll speak with their head basketball coach, Scott Cross, tomorrow, I believe, to kick off hour number 2, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
We will do that. But, you mentioned it, Barry, some big games coming up.
Yes, the Troy women's basketball team is on the road this week. They've got a 6-game. It's the Troy men who are in action. Right now, Troy has scheduled 6 o'clock tomorrow night. 6 o'clock Thursday night against Southern Miss at Trojan Arena. The first 3,000 fans receive a Troy Trojans light stick. They've got the halftime entertainment as a guy named Steve Max, who is the Simon Says guy. He's like the world's greatest Simon Says guy out there, plus student appreciation night. Tickets available at troytrojans.com/tickets. And then South Alabama on Saturday. Got to have something for them. That's a 5 o'clock start time. Bear in mind, they moved that up. 5 o'clock start against South Alabama. All fans are asked to wear a Cardinal, and if you're one of the first 3,000, Troy takes care of you. You got a Cardinal basketball T-shirt as well. The first 3,000 fans get a Beat South sticker, and the first 2,000 students get a Troy Trojans light stick. The halftime entertainment for that one is a guy named Mad Chad. Mad Chad is a chainsaw juggler.
Oh.
I was talking with Kyle George, who we'll have on later in the week. He is a chainsaw juggler. Kyle said that they've already had the chainsaws delivered. He's already sent his chainsaws ahead. And they're regulation chainsaws. He is a chainsaw juggler. Obviously, he must be a fairly successful one because his nickname's not Lefty.
Yeah,
and he's still doing this for a living and all that.
So my question is, are the chainsaws on, running?
I would think
and number
so.
two,
yes. Yeah.
If he drops one, that's going to damage the floor. Does he have some
hopefully
protective?
They're on a riser or something like that, to where if it hits the riser.
Okay.
Believe me, I've got plenty of questions about that as well. Ticket special, $5 general admission tickets. Go to TroyTrojans.com/tickets. Troy versus South, Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Gotta have that one. Yes.
I know we got one more topic on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. We're going to get to that in just a second. But joining us now is Mary Ann from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree, to tell us about what's going on this week at Marguerite's. It's snowing diamonds at Marguerite's, I believe.
Talk about, yes, Mother Nature is making the world sparkly. Lots of pretty, lots of white. And that just brings to mind diamonds at Marguerite's. Of course, we have a huge variety. We've been helping people get engaged. We've been helping people upgrade. Lots of great anniversaries. And just like we mentioned last week, we are wanting people to go through their jewelry box, do that cleaning, do that consolidating. We've been helping lots of people redesign their jewelry, making beautiful pieces out of it, different rings, different necklaces. So look through your jewelry box. If you haven't used it in a while, dust it off, let us redesign it, or let us give you cash for that jewelry. And as always, huge diamond supplies at Marguerite's. You get to select your color, your cut, your clarity. Guys, don't worry. Don't do that Google 101. You can come through our door and we'll help you figure out exactly the perfect stone for you.
Maybe one of the more interesting things that I've seen in our long association with Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry is the advent of lab-grown diamonds, which didn't used to be a thing. I'm a layman, and I can't tell the difference at all. Is there really, in terms of cut, clarity, and carat weight, is there really a difference, Mary Ann?
No, there isn't. There used to be. If you would have asked me this time last year, I would have been like, no, I can tell a difference. Like there was a slight kind of grayish hue to them, but they've perfected the technology. It is a diamond. All diamonds are carbon that have had a whole lot of heat, a whole lot of pressure. The heat and pressure takes place most of the time in the Earth's core. For natural diamonds, it just takes place in a GE machine now. So it takes a $4,000 to $5,000 machine that Marguerite's has to be able to tell if it's a natural, which is a type 1A diamond, or a lab-created diamond, which is type 2A. So it will hold up to everyday wear and tear. We've done lots of lab-created diamond studs, just women wanting to get a larger size, or maybe, it's your daughter, she's not super responsible yet, or heck, it could be your wife. I mean, I know lots of my friends that cannot keep track of diamond studs. So it's a great opportunity for that. And then guys that, want to get that really big stone, but they don't have a really big price point, we keep those in stock and we're happy to go through them, show people the difference between natural and lab created. It is a diamond, so we do use the 4 C's like any other diamond purchase would go through.
Sure. Oh boy, they are beautiful, no doubt about it. One thing I noticed earlier today, Mary Ann, when I put my watch on, and we hadn't talked about it in a while, and I don't think it is 358 but my watch says it is. I need a new watch battery. Marguerite's can handle that.
We can handle it, and we're not just going to hand you that battery. We're going to take it in, take it back to one of our bench jewelers or our master jeweler who are in-house at all times, and we're going to change it out for you. So the cost is you handing it to us, taking the back off of it, checking to make sure there's not any corrosion, do a little pressurized air to make sure there's not any gunk that's built up, changing that battery out. We set the time for you for the most part and send you on your way so you're not going to be late.
Yep.
If people want to just make sure with the weather coming that you guys are open and available, there is a phone number, right, that you encourage. And there's a phone number for anything, right? And any question, any comment, call or text. Am I right, Marianne?
Of course, yes. 334-270-0074. Call or text. You can text that number as well. All of us have that app on our phone, and we're happy to reply. It doesn't matter if it's during business hours or not.
8163 Vaughn Road in Peppertree. That's where Marguerite's is located, open 7 days a week. So go by and see them soon. Hey, Marianne, thank you so much. We appreciate it as always.
Thanks, guys. Stay warm.
You too. Thank you so much. Yeah, head on out to Marguerite's, open 7 days a week. All right, Bear, I think we need to take one more break, and I think there's one more panel on the wheel, so we'll get to it. Chris, don't you worry. We're going to clear the wheel today.
He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellow Summer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the river region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust. Okay, a couple of minutes to the top of the hour here on our Tuesday edition, Longshore at McKnight, presented by Bud Light. I believe there's one more topic on the wheel that we need to get to. And that is, we got to spin it.
Yeah, spin.
Yeah, got to spin it to make it official.
Yeah, Chris likes it when you spin.
And, wow, look at that. Natty. So, Ohio State wins the national championship last night. We've talked a lot about it here this morning. Notre Dame, hey, great effort, great game plan. Just athletically, they couldn't match up.
That's fair.
But I just kind of wondered as I watched that game, how soon is it going to be before, Auburn or Alabama playing in that game that was played last night?
A lot of it will be up to you fans. You want to buy a quarterback, you want to buy a left tackle, you want to buy a linebacker, you're going to have to literally buy him. But also, bear in mind, the NIL is not just for talent acquisition, it's for talent retention. You want to keep that guy? You want to keep that safety who is hoisting a Crystal Trophy right now in Columbus, Ohio? You're going to have to pay for him. Yeah, you want to save that backup quarterback who's going to be the starter for Ohio State next year, you're going to have to pay for him. I thought, at the beginning, Notre Dame had the prettiest opening drive you ever saw in your life. Obviously, it was scripted. Obviously, they knew what they wanted to do and everything. 18 plays, 75 yards, took almost 10 minutes off the clock, and I thought, here we go. You know what? That was it for Notre Dame until, about the last 4 minutes or so. When they scored the late touchdown, and then Ohio State got the field goal out there. Ohio State, the thing I value more than anything else about them, John, is now I can bring up somebody else when somebody keeps talking about a team that wins a national championship and didn't even play in their conference championship.
Yeah, how about that?
Now I can bring up, well, somebody else has done it too just now. You think Ohio State is sitting there thinking, golly, we didn't win the Big Ten championship. We didn't even play. We could have enjoyed so much the experience of playing in Indianapolis and taking in the sights. And we didn't even, I mean, it was Oregon who got that chance.
Yeah, can you believe it?
Who got that chance, not us.
So there again, but does it cheapen? I don't think so. But I do wonder about conference championship games. I mean, do we really need them with an expanded playoff? I think a lot of people would debate that. The conferences certainly want to keep them. Does the Big Ten really care that Ohio State wasn't there? You probably would have liked to have had them there, probably a bigger draw, but hey, we still had it, still made money, and we had one of our teams win the national title. So it's all good.
Well, all good today, visiting with Brian Matthews from auburnsports.com. Travis Reier, always high quality. Reier on YouTube. And of course, all of you who are constantly in and checking in and providing content for us on our River Region Straw chat line. It's always a great thing to have your guys' support and everything. We are continuing to see it grow. And now that college football season is over, John.
Yes, it is.
We have got changed tack just a little bit. No. We're still talking college football.
Sure we are. Yeah.
Still talking the Aubs. Things won't change that much. We just won't have games to break down.
Oh, believe me. Don't you worry. And Matt, I appreciate you noticing even when there's only one topic on the wheel, we still spin it.
Yeah.
It's like kicking that extra point in the NFL when the game clock reads 0.
Yeah. I mean, unlike John's approach whenever he hits one within the leather, he just, wait a minute, I can't pick it up?
Yeah.
I got to put it. It's basically the same thing.
Got to finish up, Matt.
The hole. Yeah.
That's right. All right. Tomorrow, we got a lot going on here on the program. Troy head basketball coach Scott Cross going to kick off hour number 2 with us here on the program.
Yep.
CJ Duncan from Yellowhammer News will join us around 7:30, the bottom half of the first hour tomorrow as well. More chats, more emails, and we will announce our winner of our bold prediction contest tomorrow as well.
In association with Yellowhammer News, Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.